What's up, guys? Coming to you, I want to talk to you about Star Wars. Actually, I'm going to talk to you about WatchMojo, a channel that kind of, for me, faded into non-relevancy a long time ago. But they do a video every so often that I watch, and that's not to hate on them. It's just, you know, they put so many videos out. A lot of them are pretty much the same. But anyways, today, or I think it was today, I watched it today. They put a video out about top 10 video games that have a better story than the Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars video games. So you know I'm going to have a lot to say on that. So first, I've got to say it's funny that they specifically chose Rise of Skywalker, because I think the list of when you answer the question of which video games have a better story than The Last Jedi, the answer is all of them. So they had to choose The Rise of Skywalker because, I mean, there's some video games that are worse, Star Wars wise, and there's some video games that just don't have a story. I think of Star Wars Pod Racer, amazing game. I'd say it's much more entertaining than the sequel trilogy, but it's not really a plot. It's just you racing, pod racing, and it's on the 64. It was awesome. So the question is then, which games have a better story? And they use a bunch of them, and it's interesting. They seem to pick the first game in different series, and I'm just like, some of these were better in the sequels. At least better games. Maybe the story wasn't as strong. I don't know. But like they reference Dark Forces, which is my favorite Star Wars video game series. Even though I think KOTOR is a better game. Dark Forces 2 is my favorite of that series. Loved that game growing up. I actually never played the first one, but the graphics are pretty terrible. But Dark Forces 2 was one of the first Star Wars games I ever played. Also played Shadows of the Empire, Rogue Squadron, and let's be real. Some of the later Rogue Squadrons are way better than the first one. They talk about TIE Fighter, which, I mean, I know at the time it was really great. I'm sure it had a good story and all, but I don't know. It's got a good story, I guess. But it's not a game that I've played. I haven't played every Star Wars game, just a good number of them. They also reference Battlefront 2, the second Battlefront 2. So it's Star Wars Battlefront 2 2.0. Because the original Battlefront 2 is my favorite of the four. I guess technically there was 5 if you count one. I think it was Game Boy. And by that it was like Game Boy Advance. I don't remember. Battlefront 3 came out, I think it was Battlefront 3. Came out on like a handheld device, I think. Could be wrong about that. There might have been a different game that I don't think of. Anyways, Battlefront 2 was great. I never played the Xbox One Battlefront 2 because Xbox One Battlefront was awful. I mean, the graphics were amazing, but it was a waste of money. It was a half-baked game, which is like everything that Xbox does anymore. Anyways, so WatchMojo specifically blasts Rise of Skywalker. I guess now that the series is over and Disney doesn't lose money, it's okay for mainstream channels to bash Rise of Skywalker. But I mean, let's be real. Last Jedi way better. I mean, way worse than Rise of Skywalker. It was awful. Now, one game that they mentioned was what's that game? The Jedi Fallen Order, which I haven't played yet, and that's only because it's not on the Switch, and that's the only new console I have. Because I just refuse to buy the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 until there's what I consider good games on there. Other people disagree with me about what a good game is, but I'm not really an online player. I like fully cooked games that I can buy online, or that I can buy and play the whole game without having to buy online. You know, being able to play against people online is fun and all, but of course the number one that they had was KOTOR, but they said they combined KOTOR 1 and 2 in one of their phrases. They said, but if you combine both games, KOTOR 1 and 2, then it's way better than Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, the first one by itself is better than all of the others that you've listed, so don't give me that you need both of them combined to be better. The first one was phenomenal. I don't even know why the second one didn't even make the list by itself. Like, it's such a good game. Even though it's very much smaller, some of the characters aren't as fun, the story is really good. That's KOTOR 2 I'm talking about. It should have made the list by itself. They did have Jedi Outcast, so they went from Dark Forces, skipped Dark Forces 2, which I think is a better game, and went to Outcast. And they didn't even talk about Jedi Academy, which was just as fun as Outcast. The cool part about Academy, is that you got to pick your own character. You got to be your own Jedi, being trained by Kyle Katarn, one of the greatest Jedi ever. And, obviously, again, they're going just by story, which, whatever. Now, they criticized, Shadow of the Empire. I thought that was an amazing game. That's in my top 10 Star Wars games of all time. I really loved that one. Maybe it was because it was all I had as a kid. I had the 64. I didn't actually buy the game, which I regret now. I'm planning on buying eventually. But, I played it through several times as a kid. Because back then you could go to Blockbuster and rent games. Or you'd borrow it from a friend for a while. Usually it was Blockbuster, but because games like that your friend didn't let you borrow. They made you come over and play. Some games they'd let you borrow. But, so I enjoyed. I agreed with them. Rise of Skywalker was held down by being too big of a movie. They didn't know where they were going from the get-go, which is not a good way to run a trilogy, not having an end in mind. And then they also had to undo everything that was done in the everything that was undone in The Last Jedi. They had to re-undo. And so that held the movie up, because you can't, The Last Jedi really was trying to be like a standalone film in the middle of a trilogy, which is not a good thing. There's this meme going around on prequel memes, and it's got the back end of a horse is the first two trilogies, and it's basically saying that they were trying to paint a picture of a horse, and then you have episode 7, which is a redone copy of episodes 1 through 6, and then episode 7 is episode 8 is a different animal. They've got the body of a jaguar or something instead of a horse, and then you have episode 8, which at least is trying to stay the head of the horse, but it's horribly drawn. And it's so true. It's so true. it just goes to show you this sequel trilogy was horrendous. Horrendous. Now, some people liked The Force Awakens when it came out. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie, just not a good Star Wars movie. But I do find it interesting that it's okay to bash The Rise of Skywalker, but it's not okay to bash The Last Jedi. Yeah, so I don't remember WatchMojo ever coming out with a video, top 10 video games that have a better story than The Last Jedi, aka all of them. So it's like, now that Rise of Skywalker out, everybody's okay with bashing the Star Wars trilogy, but they don't talk about The Last Jedi because they know that even still now, they really can't talk about how bad that movie was and how much it ruined the Star Wars franchise. Of course, if you're an EU guy like myself, none of it matters. Like, none of this was canon anyway, so who cares? Like, yeah, I own a copy of The Force Awakens because it was a decent movie. I like J.J. Abrams, but that's the only one that I'm gonna buy the movie of. I own all the books of all the episodes, aka I don't own a book of episode 7, 8, 9 because I don't think they exist. I deny their existence in the canon. So that's my thoughts. Got some more Star Wars thoughts because there have been so much stuff going on Star Wars. It's been crazy to see all that they're doing, and I've got a lot of thoughts on it. So I'm going to do another video talking about that. There's also a channel I want to call out, which I don't like doing, but I'm tired of this channel. So I'll catch you next time. Peace.